Hello everyone and welcome to my BTG CBS update channel. Leslie arranged to meet Ted Richardson, her former lover and the father of her daughter Eva, at a neutral spot away from prying eyes. Ted arrived looking weary, the strain of his ongoing divorce from Nicole Dupree etched on his face. "Leslie, what is this about? You said it was urgent," Ted asked, his voice low and cautious as they sat in a dimly lit cafe. Leslie leaned forward, her eyes gleaming with that familiar mix of triumph and malice. "Ted, darling, I've got something to tell you that will change everything you think you know about that perfect Dupree family." Ted frowned, sensing trouble. "Get to the point, Leslie." She smiled slowly. "I saw Vernon going into Sharon's room the other night. Late. Very late. And it's not the first suspicious thing I've noticed. Conversations I've overheard, the way they look at each other, it's clear as day. Your father-in-law is having an affair with Sharon." Ted stared at her, disbelief washing over his features. "You're joking. Vernon? The man who lectures everyone on fidelity and family values? No way." Leslie shook her head, pulling out her phone to show a blurry photo she'd snapped from her window. "See for yourself. He didn't just pop in for tea, Ted. This is happening now, right under Anita's nose." Ted pushed the phone away, his mind racing. "Why are you telling me this? What's your angle?" Leslie shrugged innocently. "Because you deserve to know the truth. And maybe, just maybe, it'll make Nicole see that her family's not so flawless after all." But Ted wasn't buying it outright. This could be nothing. A misunderstanding. Yet as Leslie filled him in on other details, the whispered talk she'd eavesdropped on, the lingering glances she'd observed at recent gatherings, doubt began to creep in. Ted demanded more proof, pressing her for every observation, every conversation she'd had that backed up her claim. By the end, he was pacing, needing answers that only confronting Vernon could provide. "If this is true, God, Leslie, what am I supposed to do with this?" Meanwhile, across town in the Grand Dupree mansion, Anita Dupree faced a reality far more painful than any rumor. The merriest time of the year felt like a cruel joke as she sat alone in her study, staring at the medical report in her hands. The diagnosis was stark. Cancer. It hit her like a wave, devastating and unrelenting. Anita, the strong matriarch who had held her family together through scandals and heartbreaks, now had to confront her own mortality. Tears welled up as she thought about telling Vernon, Nicole, Danny, and the rest. How do you drop that kind of bomb during the holidays? She imagined their faces crumbling, the questions about treatment, the fear of losing her. The next steps loomed: consultations with specialists, decisions about chemotherapy or surgery, the fight of her life ahead. Anita leaned back, closing her eyes, wondering if she could even bring herself to say the words aloud. Friends like Sharon and Tracy had already started rallying around her, sensing something was wrong, but the full truth would change everything. Not far away, Naomi Hawthorne was dealing with her own storm. Her marriage to Jacob had seemed on the mend after months of strain, but old issues bubbled up again, leaving her furious. "Jacob, how can you not see how this affects us?" Naomi snapped during a heated argument in their living room, decorated half-heartedly with holiday garlands. Jacob sighed, trying to stay calm. "Naomi, we're supposed to be using those tools from therapy, breathing, communicating without accusing." But Naomi wasn't having it. "Easy for you to say when you're the one shutting down," she paced, upset over yet another misunderstanding, perhaps tied to family pressures or lingering resentments. Naomi found herself angry with her husband far too often, wondering if she needed individual therapy to unpack her deeper issues. Their clashes felt endless, threatening the fragile progress they'd made. Amid all this turmoil, June's story offered a glimmer of hope and redemption. What a year it had been for her. An emotional roller coaster that took her from the depths of homelessness and illness to a newfound stability as the cheerful waitress at Orphe Jean's Soul Kitchen. The diner had become her sanctuary, where she dished out wisdom along with plates of comfort food, reconnecting with her children who had slowly welcomed her back. She'd made unlikely friends in Fairmont Crest, occasionally flirting lightly with Ted over coffee refills, and even clashing memorably with the likes of Leslie Thomas, who couldn't resist a snide remark. But June's glow-up in 2025 was undeniable. No longer estranged from her sister Regina, she received an invitation to Martin's Christmas tree trimming party that warmed her heart. And the real joy came when Regina arrived unexpectedly, the sisters reuniting with hugs and tears, bridging years of pain with forgiveness and understanding. The holiday spirit, however, turned competitive in the most Fairmont Crest way possible. Danny Dupree and Martin Richardson, siblings with their own complicated histories, decided to host rival tree trimming parties. After the challenging year they both endured, family dramas, personal losses, and everything in between, these gatherings were meant to be therapeutic, a chance to surround themselves with loved ones. Danny's event promised to be flashy and extravagant, with elegant decorations, gourmet treats, and an air of sophistication that screamed competition. Martin's, co-hosted with his partner Smitty, leaned cozier, warm lights, homemade touches, and a more intimate vibe. Word spread quickly, and family members faced the dilemma of choosing sides, knowing attendance mattered deeply to both. "You better show up to mine," Danny might tease a relative with a wink, while Martin emphasized the heartfelt atmosphere at his. The unofficial head-to-head brewed into fierce rivalry, with everyone wondering who would win the most attendees or the best reviews. As the parties approached, whispers flew about potential drama spilling over, who might sneak to both, or what revelations could emerge amid the eggnog and ornaments. In the midst of these competing festivities, deeper lessons simmered for Danny and Martin. Danny, ever the perfectionist, might realize that flashiness couldn't buy genuine connection, especially after her own emotional battles. Martin, reflective and grounded, could confront his tendencies toward holding grudges or needing control. As the dust settled post-parties with trees trimmed and loyalties tested, both siblings would likely emerge with new insights about themselves, family, and what truly made the holidays meaningful. Fairmont Crest's residents navigated accusations, health crises, marital woes, redemptions, and rivalries, all under the glow of Christmas lights, proving that even in the most affluent neighborhoods, the human heart's complexities never took a holiday. Ted, still reeling from Leslie's bombshell, debated his next move: confront Vernon directly or warn Nicole first. Anita gathered her strength, reaching out to Sharon and Tracy for support, as she prepared to share her diagnosis. Naomi and Jacob paused their argument long enough to consider seeking more help, while June savored her reunion with Regina, grateful for second chances. And as invitations were RSVP'd for the dueling tree trimmings, the community braced for laughter, tears, and perhaps a few unexpected confessions. Leslie, watching from afar, no doubt relished the chaos she'd ignited, ready to fan the flames if needed. In Fairmont Crest, the shocking claim about Vernon lingered like a shadow, leaving Ted, and soon others, demanding the truth, just as the season demanded joy amid the pain. The days leading into Christmas blurred with preparations and private turmoil. Ted couldn't shake Leslie's words, replaying the photo and details in his mind. "If Vernon's cheating, it destroys everything Anita believes in," he muttered to himself one night. He needed answers, but approaching Vernon risked exploding the family further. Leslie, meanwhile, had her own explanations to give if pressed, weaving more observations into her narrative to solidify her version. Anita, processing her devastating news alone at first, finally confided in close friends, their support a lifeline as she mapped out telling her loved ones. "I have to fight this," she whispered determinedly, thinking of next steps like scans and treatments. Naomi's fury with Jacob stemmed from built-up frustrations, perhaps over differing holiday plans or deeper trust issues. "Why do we keep circling this?" she demanded, but Jacob urged patience. "We need to dig deeper, maybe separately." Their clash highlighted ongoing troubles, refusing to stay buried. June, beaming at Orphe Jeans, served smiles and sage advice, her flirtations with Ted light but noticed. Her invitation to Martin's party and Regina's arrival marked a true glow-up, mending estrangements with heartfelt talks. The tree trimming competition heated up, Danny pulling out all stops for glamour while Martin and Smitty crafted cozy charm. Family members navigated loyalties carefully, knowing splits could sting. "It's just trees," someone might joke, but underneath, it reflected deeper divides and desires for belonging. Post-event, Danny might soften on perfection, Martin on control, learning about vulnerability and acceptance. As snow dusted Fairmont Crest, Leslie's accusation rippled outward. Ted sought clarity, perhaps cornering Vernon. "Is it true?" he'd ask bluntly. Anita faced her battle head-on, family rallying despite the timing. Naomi and Jacob teetered, seeking roots of discord. June embraced her renewed life sister by her side. And the parties? They promised memories, rivalries resolved in laughter or lessons. Christmas in this gated world was never simple. Shocking claims demanded truth, painful realities strength, clashes understanding, and competitions perhaps unity. Through it all, the residents of Fairmont Crest discovered that holidays illuminated not just homes, but hearts.